Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Adam.
Coming up on today's episode, we get a little buzzed with our review of Pixar's newest feature, Lightyear. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Adam, ready to launch Hummel.
You know what they say, Patrick. You know what they say.
If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready to launch.
Wasn't that a movie with Matthew McConaughey and Sarah Jessica Parker? Oh, it's Failure to Launch. Failure to launch. That's the sequel for your life, actually. That'll be the next movie. Was there ever a more apt title for a movie? Failure to Launch. Didn't really work, did it?
Failure to do well in the box office.
Patrick, luscious Lady Liberty Kazuki.
Oh. Should we talk about Lady Liberty in such a fashion?
I think
Seems
so.
Disgraceful.
I think so. She's been a bit disgraceful to us lately, so...
Well, fair enough. Although, I don't know if Lady Liberty has been disgraceful to us as we have been disgraceful to Lady Liberty.
That's a great point. You know what I did? I turned it around because I'm a male, and that's what males do. I turned it around on Lady Liberty, and I should not have done that.
That's right. You made it all about the patriarchy once again.
When am I going to stop doing that, Patrick?
When are you ever going to stop doing that? Well, before we get in to all of that mess, because we are going to address it, make no mistake about that. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Patrick. How are you doing?
I am doing just exceptionally okay. I'm doing exceptionally all right.
You know what? I will take that. In this day and age?
Yeah. Yes. If I can get just one notch above okay, then I'm having a great day, I feel like.
And Patrick, let's just talk about it right at the top of the show. Independence Day, Patrick, for those of us in the States and those of us abroad who may be from the States, and those of us who just like to celebrate holidays that may have... started in the United States. I'm talking about Independence Day. Happy Independence Day, everyone.
Is it? Is it, Adam?
Less Independence Day.
You know, I'm not going to lie. Not feeling real patriotic right now. I'm not feeling into the spirit isn't moving me to celebrate Independence Day. And listen, I celebrate all of you out there. I am with you. I'm here for you, as are we both. But I got to say, doesn't feel like a good birthday for America right now.
It doesn't. No cake for you, America. No cake for you.
No cake for you. Have several seats, founding fathers or current fathers, I guess. Oh, dear.
I refuse to call them daddy.
Nope, they don't. They have not earned that title. Not today. Not on today.
They certainly have not. But listen, if there's a way you can find some joy and maybe find some patriotism in standing up to what's currently happening in the country and
there you go.
Letting your voice be heard, that's something that's very patriotic. You know, we can still speak out in several ways. That's how we will celebrate.
There you go. Exercise your right to uphold the First Amendment.
And exercise your right to put some potato salad in your mouth.
Ooh, that's the best exercise of all. That's the only exercise I'm going to be getting is plate to mouth with a fork.
That's right. Have a little dairy, have some carbs. Get into it.
We're getting fast and loose here on the podcast today, everybody. And speaking of fast and loose, Adam, the Supreme Court, I'll tell you what, let's just keep talking about America right now because we're in danger, girl. We're in danger. The Supreme Court, of course, as you all know, I assume you all know, I guess, has just recently overturned Roe versus Wade. And we wanted to just take a second because, I mean, you can't not talk about it right now and acknowledge that happened. I know everyone is on their own journey with this and coming at it from very different angles, very personal angles. And we want to just broadly say, as I'm sure you already know, but let's not make assumptions ever in our lives because that's how we get into trouble sometimes. We want to make sure that we are here for all of you. We are here for women. We stand with women. We stand with reproductive health care. This is a safe space for all people.
Amen, Patrick. How about giving it up for body autonomy? Let's give it up for body autonomy.
Snaps for that. But in that vein, we do acknowledge that a lot of you are probably going through a rough time right now. And so we wanted to point your direction to a resource that we are recommending for you.
That's right. The National Network of Abortion Funds, which can be found at abortionfunds.org, builds power with members to remove financial and logistical barriers to abortion access by centering people who have abortions and organizing at the intersections of racial, economic, and reproductive justice. It's a wonderful site, a wonderful nonprofit that actually is so needed more than ever right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So check that out if you are so inclined. And, just remember to vote, everybody. We are coming up against some midterm elections, and they are going to be very important this year. So, again, exercise your First Amendment rights. Get out there and vote.
And donate if you can, right? There's plenty of abortion funds out there. Let's donate too.
Absolutely. Make some donations. We should also acknowledge on the flip side of all this, Adam, an historic event also happened. We now have the first female African-American judge on the Supreme Court panel, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Yas Queen.
Fabulous news in the midst of all this muck that we're currently sitting in. She will be a progressive voice on the court, and hopefully we can keep adding to that roster.
I mean, please, can we do that? That would be a birthday present for America, wouldn't it, Just?
Or maybe some term limits. I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Something needs to change. Something for sure needs to change. Well, let's keep that celebration going, Adam. And something equally as important, I would say, we have a new Patreon member here on Gaze to the D.
I don't know if it's equal. Might be more important than having a fabulous new justice on the Supreme Court. Now, we do have a new Patreon member, someone named Richard.
Richard from Ireland, in fact.
Do you know how I knew that, Patrick? Because you highlighted this section of our show notes in just a vibrant green.
I did. That was a happy or unfortunate coincidence there on my part.
Patrick has your number, Richard. He knew.
In fact, I literally have your number and information right now because you are a new Patreon family member here on Gaze to the D. Thank you so much, Richard. And not only are you a new Patreon member, you also left us a little question on the Patreon page. Richard wrote into us saying, "Hi, folks. Just wondering if you have any tips on handling the heat in California. It's myself and my partner's first time in California, and we are heading to Disneyland in August. We are from Ireland, where it is constantly raining. Any tips would be greatly appreciated."
Well, the good news for you, Richard, is that it's a dry heat, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Humidity is not our friend.
But that midday California sun can get so intense. So my recommendation, and I've probably said this on the podcast before, and it applies to either going to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, but really take that mid-afternoon time to either run back to your hotel, take a little nap, take a little pool time, take a little breather, or book yourself a nice dining reservation, say at some place like Blue Bayou, where you are absolutely just thrust into darkness.
That would be my recommendation. Take breaks out of the sun. Go have a seat at a restaurant or pony up to a bar if you need to, just for an hour or so around that mid-afternoon where the sun gets really high in the sky and the heat is way up. Also, my recommendation is to head on over to our TeePublic page and purchase some t-shirts or some tank tops that'll keep you nice and cool.
That was so slick, Patrick. You can do that, Richard, by heading to gazetothed.com/merch. But being a patron, you probably already know that.
You probably already know that. So thank you, Richard, for your question, and thank you for joining our Patreon family.
If anyone else is interested in joining the Patreon fam, you can do so by heading to gazetothed.com/donate, where you'll be taken to our Patreon page. And there are a number of levels at which you can donate. So have fun with that. Explore the space and choose what role you want to take on as a Patreon family member.
I love that. I love that. Patreon autonomy. Thank you so much, Adam. Let's move on to some Tweedle feedback from last week's episode, shall we?
Yes. We had some feedback regarding the Strange World teaser trailer. And I happened to do a little survey or ask our Tweedles last week who had performed in a play version of Alice in Wonderland. First up, we heard from Nate. We got an email from Nate who says, "Hello, this is Nate, Matthew's theater friend in Appleton, Oshkosh."
Ooh, interesting. He has an in with the pod.
He does have an in with the pod connected to my boo. Nate goes on to say, "I've been listening for a while."
Does that mean just one long episode? He's been listening to this last episode for a long time.
That's right. He says, "I wanted to respond to the recent prompt, One Strange World looks amazing, eliciting feelings of the sci-fi and fantasy movies shows from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, e.g. The Valley of Gwangi and Land of the Lost." Patrick, did you ever watch Land of the Lost?
I never really did. I was aware of it, but it wasn't a show that I tuned into on the regular.
Marshall, Will, Holly, Chaka, they were all there, Patrick, all of them.
That is Land of the Lost on me.
Nate goes on to say, "I was in a production of Alice in Wonderland at a children's theater in Okoboji, Iowa, I believe that's pronounced Okoboji. Fun to say. He says, "I played the caterpillar, even sewing my own costumed arms. Thank you, be swell."
I like that. Be swell, everybody.
So invested, sewing your own arms. That's a lot of arms to sew for anyone, Patrick. No one should take that upon themselves.
No, if I was playing the caterpillar and I had to sew my own arms, that would be an armless caterpillar.
What a twist. What an unexpected twist in Alice in Wonderland.
I think that's just a worm then at that point, isn't it?
You're right. That's just a worm.
You will not turn into a butterfly. All right, moving on. Scott also reached out to us via Instagram at Sater69. Scott says, "I played the Mad Hatter in a production of Alice in Wonderland. The director gave the actor playing the March Hare and I license to improv as long as we did get all the correct lines out as well. It was chaos, including a whoopee cushion on one of my chairs for a clean cup move down that I didn't set off as I only sat on the edge of chairs. I also sit right on the edge of chairs, Scott. Sadly, on the next move, the poor actress playing Alice was not so lucky as she sat on the chair with a loud fort. So hard not to break character on that one. Love the podcast. Totally needs more farts. Winky face." Okay, fair. We will take that suggestion on and see what we can do about it.
That's some energy the new co-hosts can absorb and bring to the table.
Fair. Absolutely fair. I'm going to put that in the show notes for next time. See if you can toot a little more often. You know?
All right, Scott, Mad Hatter. I love that. Man, anyone who plays the Mad Hatter in any production, it must be the most draining role because you just got to keep up that manic energy the entire time.
It's true. Absolutely true. That is not a role for me. I would tire out within the first 2 minutes.
Would your Mad Hatter have arms, though, Patrick?
Not if I had to sew them myself. Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, Nate and Scott, for your feedback. We always love hearing from our Tweedles. You can reach out to us anytime you want to. Tweedles. Moving on, Patrick, we talked about the Strange World teaser trailer. We got another teaser trailer last week, one for Hocus Pocus 2.
Ooh, the gayest thing that's ever going to happen.
So many gay gasps in that single moment when the trailer was released last week. Patrick, give me your thoughts. There wasn't much going on in the trailer, but there was enough for us to grasp onto as homosexuals. What did you think?
I'm excited for it. It looks great. I mean, as you said, there's not a whole lot given out yet, but it looks like, so I happen to read, there is a sequel to Hocus Pocus in book form out right now. I think it came out a couple years ago, and it looks like it might be taking a little bit from that book. Not all the way, not completely, but it looks like some of the characters might be similar. And if that's true, then I think this is going to be a real gay movie.
I love when Hollywood takes a literary classic and turns it into something we can all enjoy on screen.
Yes, absolutely. Makes it palatable for us to watch on screen. No, I think it looks fantastic. I mean, we obviously, all of us, I think I can speak for the entire planet when I say we could watch those three witches on screen all the time, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it's drag. We can be real, right? They are performing in drag, and they are giving us everything we want, and we already know there's going to be a musical number because at the end of the teaser, one of the characters says, "Can I point you to the stage, or are you looking for the stage?" And so you know where that's going to go.
We sure do. An underwater ballet performance, I think, is where that's going to go.
They're really going to turn it on its head this time, yeah.
Yeah, very excited about this. Again, it's coming directly to Disney Plus this September 30th, 2022.
Something for you to watch the entire spooky season on repeat. Hocus Pocus 2. Very exciting.
Very exciting. I will be doing just that, Adam.
But before you do, Patrick, I think it's time for a little This Week in Disney History.
I think it is time. It's been time. It's always time. It's currently time. Let's get into it, starting off with the birthday, Adam. 110 years ago, born on July 5th, 1912, songwriter Mac David was born in New York City. David was mostly known for his work in movies and TV, along with his writing partners Jerry Livingston and Al Hoffman. Most famously for Disney, David and his team wrote A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, the working song, and Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo for Cinderella. They were nominated for an Academy Award for Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. They also wrote the Unbirthday song for Alice in Wonderland.
We're back to Alice in Wonderland. We can't get off Alice in Wonderland.
We sure can't. What a great collection of songs they wrote for Disney. Some classic numbers.
That's what I was just about to say, Patrick. Some classic numbers that we celebrate every time we visit a Disney park.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say these songs are heard throughout the parks, at least the Magic Kingdom anyways.
That they are. And, you know, sometimes you just need a little lift when you're at home. You put on some Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. You put on some kind of smock. You grab maybe a stir stick from the kitchen and you just dance around your house.
I think we got a little insight into a Wednesday evening in the Hummel house.
Matthew is horrified.
You know it's you. It's not Matthew.
No, that's what I mean. He's watching me do it.
Oh, got it. Yep, absolutely. Horrifying. Well, what's unhorrifying, Adam, is our next This Week in Disney History. Although maybe I should save that because it's a little bit of a weird moment in Disney history. 46 years ago, on July 7th, 1976, the Disney live-action comedy Gus is released in theaters. Now, Adam, I would really love for you to take a stab as to what you think the movie Gus is about, because no matter what you say, it probably won't be as weird as what the movie is actually about.
Oh, man. When did this movie come out? Remind me.
1976.
Okay. So it was a weird time in Disney's culture.
Sure was.
Okay. So Gus, Patrick, is about a bear. But it's live action, and the bear actually is a traffic cop, and he befriends a small child named Natalie, and Natalie and Gus together attend a city council meeting where they petition the city council to put a stop sign at a very crucial intersection within the city's downtown area. And of course, it happens because Disney magic.
It sure does. Absolutely. You're not terribly far off on the on the plot line. It is about an unexpected animal. I'll say that. So here's the plot of Gus, everybody. The California Atoms are in last place with no hope of moving up until the team's mascot, a mule named Gus, becomes the team's kicker. But when two ex-cons are hired to kidnap Gus, there's chaos on the gridiron.
sounds like we just teed up the next episode of the podcast, How Did This Get Made?
I think so. I think you're right. Now, here's the cast of Gus, though. I mean, this is an amazing cast featuring Ed Asner, Don Knotts, Tim Conway, Dick Van Patten, Tom Bosley, and then football legend Johnny Unitas.
Wow.
What happened? How did they get all of these people in a movie about a mule who plays football?
You wouldn't agree to that pitch? Though you wouldn't, like, if someone said, Patrick, I got a movie for you to star in, you wouldn't be like, I'm all in on that?
I want to be clear. If anyone asks me to do any movie, I'm going to say yes to it.
Oh.
I think you know what I mean.
We all know. And there would be a donkey involved in that one, too.
There would be an ass. There would be an ass in it. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd never heard of Gus before, Patrick, but thank you for introducing, I'm assuming, a majority of us to Gus, but maybe there's a huge Gus standum out there that I'm just not aware of.
You know, fun fact, I actually have seen Gus because it played a lot on TV. You know, when you were a kid and you maybe stayed home sick or something and they would play really weird movies sometimes on daytime television? Gus was often on TV.
So you are, in fact, the president of the Gus fan club.
I sure am, president and only member.
Where's that attraction? Come on, Disney parks.
I think we have a quick D in our future. Absolutely.
At least put it in All-Star Sports somewhere. A wink to Gus.
You know what? I bet there is. Tweedles out there, if you are aware of a Gus reference within All-Star Sports, send us a picture immediately.
Please do just that. All right, Patrick. A fascinating and completely bizarre this week in Disney history.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we get into the news, Adam, speaking of jackasses, we have another GDTD co-host to reveal to all of you.
That's right. A brand new co-host to join Patrick on this GDTD journey that you're all on. And this guy will be joining you in just a couple of episodes, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a couple episodes, we actually mean a couple of months because we are bi-weekly now. But yes, later this year in August, I believe, we will be joined by someone who has been on the podcast before. You know him possibly from the Instagram handle, the Steamboat Willies. I'm talking about Kale English.
Kale English.
And as we did with last week's episode, I pre-recorded a little interview with Kale, just sort of welcoming him onto the podcast. And let's listen to that clip right now. Well, he's back again. Kale English, how are you?
I'm doing good, Patrick. How are you?
Are you sure? You sounded a little unsure about that.
No, because here's the thing. I had absolutely planned on introducing myself and saying, I'm back again. And so, yeah. But that's, thank you, though.
I stole it. I stole it from you.
You did.
That's how it's going to go from now on. Just get used to that here on the podcast. Is I'm the one who says clever things, and you're also here.
Oh, I'm playing the straight man?
Well, that's a little difficult, I feel like, for
either one of us. Yeah.
It's true. Well, welcome back to the podcast, Kale. Officially, now you were a guest host many moons ago.
Yes, a while ago. I guess it's been about a year now. Is that right?
I believe so. We talked about The Emperor's New Groove.
That's right. We sure did. It was the highest rated episode. I think that it finally got us to 22 listeners. And yeah, it was amazing. I was super excited to do that one. And I'm insanely excited to be here as a regular rotating co-host.
A rotating co-host indeed. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, why, Kale? Why are you here? What?
So I am here because for a solid 3 days, you blew up my phone, and we're sort of like, I need you to do this. You said you'd do this, and then I remembered having told you, I'd love to come back sometime. I didn't know it was that it was going to be so soon. B, you were going to hound me about it repeatedly. And so when I finally did give in, you said, okay, I'm calling you right now and we're recording this intro. So that's how this happened.
Awesome. The regrets are starting already. They're piling up already. Okay, so back to the question at hand. In reality, I, of course, did ask you to be a co-host here on Gays Do the D. Why did you say yes, Kale? What drew you to agree to this lifelong commitment? I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, well, yes, I've accepted that it's a lifelong commitment, that we'll be doing this probably with this same microphone, even when they're horridly outdated. But
Yep.
you know, when I was asked to do it, I thought about the joy that you and Adam have brought people, myself included, and you know, the concept that me and the boys, you know, the Steamboat Willies, really bonded even more after, you know, finding Gays Do the D and listening to it and making it a part of our journey to Orlando ritual. And you know, I've always thought highly of the both of you, one more than the other. I won't say. I mean, I'll let you guys can fight it out. But yeah, and I had such a blast doing this with you when we did our take 2 on Emperor's New Groove. And so yeah, when you asked me, I was very excited and fully committed from that moment.
Well, we are very excited to have you and to welcome you into the Gays Do the D family even more officially. What would you say you hope to bring to the podcast?
Finally some humor. I'm really hoping that there's just finally like a punchline to a joke. Maybe like a couple people will giggle or laugh. I feel like that's sort of the one thing it's been missing. Mm-hmm. Also, like making it a little more artistic. Easy to follow, likable in general. You know, check all the boxes.
Got it. You do know that I am going to be editing these episodes, right? So everything you say right now is going to be taken out of context.
No, absolutely. I remember that happening the last go around as well. So yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I just... You know, I want to say that Adam is going to be sincerely missed. You know, this was a project that you guys started together. I think we all fell in love with you guys as a duo. I feel honored to be filling 1/3 of his footsteps. I can also tell you that the 2 other rotating co-hosts that I'm doing this with, I couldn't be more excited to be entering into this journey and chapter with them. They're absolutely amazing. Everybody is going to love them. And I also am very thankful for you for, you know, keeping this going, sort of feeling that it's not quite complete and sort of, you know, needs to keep going for the time being. I think a lot of people need it. You know, every day that someone wakes up with a reason to smile, even if it's something small, like, you know, 2 gay men talking about Walt Disney, I think that's important.
Wow, we got an actual genuine answer out of you for the first time here on the podcast.
And the last time.
And the last time as well. Well, thank you for joining us today, Kale. We just wanted to give you an introduction to you, to all of our Tweedles out there, and they can now look forward to hearing your voice more often here on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you again and seeing all of you at the end of the summer.
Disney World recently announced a few updates and the return of a few fan favorites, and I think the announcements are pretty gay. They're pretty gay, Adam. Let's see what our Tweedles think about these. Starting off, more characters are returning to the parks, and one new character joins them. I'm talking about Mirabel from Encanto, who will join the Disney Adventure Friends Cavalcade in the Magic Kingdom. Mirabel joins Miguel from Coco, Max, Goofy, Moana, and a host of other fan favorites. Also, in the Magic Kingdom, Minnie Mouse returns to Town Square, while she'll join Mickey Mouse in their iridescent outfits. In Hollywood Studios, you can once again meet Chewbacca, BB-8, and Darth Vader in the Star Wars launch bay. And at the Fort Wilderness Campground, Chip and Dale are back for the Chip and Dale Campfire sing-along. Now moving on to something that will definitely make everyone scream, "Yas, Queen." We now know the name for the upcoming Princess and the Frog attraction that will replace Splash Mountain in both Disney World and Disneyland. Tiana's Bayou Adventure. This new attraction will feature characters from the Princess and the Frog and some new characters, along with a new score inspired by the movie. The attraction is set to open in late 2024. No word yet on when Splash Mountain will officially be closed to make way for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. In our next gay update, the family in the Carousel of Progress are serving new looks with updated outfits and haircuts for the end scene. Grandpa is now sporting a sensible black cardigan and gray plaid pants, and he got a little dye job. Daughter Patricia got bangs and a ponytail and is now wearing a gray Progress Tech hoodie, a reference to Progress City. She's also wearing plaid pajama bottoms, and she's now holding a lovely hiking boot instead of the weird ski boot from before. Maybe she's a lesbian. Grandma is now in a modest floor-length pink sweater dress paired with a black cardigan. She also now has a Miranda Priestley white blonde bob. Son James now wears a blue and gray pullover with a logo on the breast pocket featuring a mountain, sun, and snowflake, which might be a reference to the once proposed project Mineral King Ski Resort. Wreck Me, Mineral King. James still has the same sloppy haircut he did have before. Pull it together, James. But he did get a darker wash jean and some reindeer slippers. Now, Daddy John got a darker dye job and a high and tight cut. He's now wearing a red holiday sweater and a new green apron that says "My Food Rocks," a reference to the old Food Rocks in Epcot. And Mama Sarah also got a darker hair color, which is now pulled back in a mom pony. She got new dark-rimmed glasses and a new gray sweater. This family loves gray. She still has that weird scarf, though, around her neck. But, Adam, it's a new weird scarf, so she's updated.
So there is at least some consistency. Scarves still present.
Scarves are still present. She's also now wearing a dark jean and some loafers. No updates to the cat or the dog in the scene. They are still the same.
Never did I ever think, Patrick, we would get a complete rundown, a complete Joan Rivers fashion photo review rundown of the looks in Carousel of Progress.
What are you wearing? I love it. I love it. And now, finally, the gayest news of all. That's right. The Hoop-de-Doo musical review is back, now in its 48th year. Tight pants and high kicks are back on stage, and the ladies are joining the gentlemen as well. A few updates have been made, however, including removing some of the potentially outdated and problematic lyrics from some of the songs, and also the awkward depictions of Native Americans have been removed from the backdrops. Thank goodness. And also, Adam, now the food is served from skillets instead of from the buckets we were eating out of before. God bless America.
I'm going to miss those buckets. I have to say, the buckets were a moment.
I do often need a bucket of chicken and potatoes, you know, just a full bucket of it.
Buckets, skillets, Patrick. All I really need to know is the sangria. Is the sangria still served?
I believe the sangria is still served in a giant pitcher. Isn't that what it was before? They just like slop down a pitcher on your table.
So they got rid of the old watering hose. They just used to shoot the sangria right into your mouth hole.
Oh, that sounds like a movie I just watched.
You know, Patrick, I was thinking about this news story and how I could frame it, and I think I came up with the perfect way to frame this segment. I'm calling it Christmas in July.
I mean, you're a genius. You're a marketing genius.
Thank you so much. I'm talking about some magical offerings coming to Walt Disney World. And like whoever Vanessa Williams was singing about in her 1992 hit, I will save the best for last. So stay tuned, everyone. First up, Disney World park icons Cinderella Castle, Spaceship Earth, the Tower of Terror, and the Tree of Life will be transforming for the holidays, showcasing heartwarming holiday-themed displays in addition to their current Beacons of Magic transformations as part of the resort's 50th anniversary celebration. Disney's Animal Kingdom will come alive once again with the return of a merry menagerie of winter animals realized in the form of life-size artisan sculpted puppets. At Disney's Hollywood Studios, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration will add a festive finale featuring everyone's favorite snowman, Olaf, and celebratory songs of the season. At Disney Springs, guests visiting Town Center will experience a magical snowfall. Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar will once again transform into Jock Lindsay's Holiday Bar and will feature Yuletide touches alongside festive food and craft cocktails. And the merriment continues at the Springs with the Christmas Tree Stroll, Patrick's very favorite, presented by Advent Health, where elaborately themed Christmas trees will draw inspiration from beloved Disney movies, characters, and attractions. And Patrick, how could we talk about the holidays in Walt Disney World without talking about Santa, who will be making special or pop-up appearances throughout the resort?
I love a pop-up appearance.
Catch him cruising down Hollywood Boulevard in his candy apple red convertible at Disney's Hollywood Studios during the Santa Claus Merry Motorcade, and he'll be voyaging across the Discovery River as part of a festive flotilla at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park. He will also be appearing at Magic Kingdom and Disney Springs, where guests may have, take note everyone, may have individual time to take photos and share their Christmas wishes. Finally, at Epcot, Santa Claus will join storytellers from around the world as part of the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays beginning November 25th. Patrick, your birthday.
It's for me. Santa is for me.
It's all for you, Damien. And speaking of Festival of the Holidays at Epcot, the Candlelight Processional will be returning beginning November 25th at America Gardens Theater. The Holiday Cookie Stroll and Holiday Kitchens will also be returning to Epcot for the International Festival of the Holidays. And marking its first holiday season in Epcot, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, as we predicted, not quite, but sort of, will trade in its classic hits playlist for a mashup of seasonal jams. And last, but certainly not least, as promised, holiday joy will unfold at Magic Kingdom as Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party returns this year. On 24 select nights, November 8th through December 22nd, 2022, this separately ticketed event will invite guests to the Magic Kingdom for an evening of merriment. The event will include Mickey's Most Merriest Celebration stage show in front of Cinderella Castle, Minnie's Wonderful Christmas Time fireworks, and Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas Time parade. Magic Kingdom attractions will get a special dose of Yuletide cheer. Holiday Magic will once again transform the Jungle Cruise into the Jingle Cruise, and as an exclusive treat for event attendees, Space Mountain, Tomorrowland Speedway, Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, and Mad Tea Party will all receive a special holiday makeover. Cosmic Ray's Starlight Cafe becomes the coolest place to get down when denizens of the North Pole drop by for an intergalactic dance party. Also at Magic Kingdom, dance the night away alongside favorite Disney characters during an out-of-this-world holiday show, a totally Tomorrowland Christmas, on the Rocket Tower Plaza stage. The fun continues for young partygoers and Disney Junior fans of all ages at Storybook Circus during the Disney Junior Jingle Jam, as Disney Junior characters take part in a fun-filled dance celebration. And as always, party guests will sugar themselves up with complimentary cookies and hot cocoa at locations throughout Magic Kingdom. New this year, in honor of the 50th anniversary celebration, Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party attendees will discover 3 jolly new photo opportunities. Guests will also receive a special 50th anniversary commemorative keepsake themed for the holidays. Any guesses on what that might be, Patrick?
A button.
It's either a button or a poster, right?
It's usually one or the other.
Tickets for Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party are limited and may be purchased online beginning July 7th, 2022. But guests of select Walt Disney World Resort hotels can purchase tickets today. That's all the information I have on that. It's very vague. I don't know why Disney didn't explain that further. Ticket prices will range from $149 to $199 per person.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Is that the most expensive it's ever been?
Probably. It's got to keep going up every year, right?
I suppose.
Even Disney, Patrick, which is not into money at all, is being hit by inflation.
That's the real gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
For more information on the Christmas party and to purchase tickets, visit DisneyWorld.com and search Mickey's Very Merry. And just as an aside, Disney, a friendly URL would be so useful for all of these Christmas activities. Give us a friendly URL.
Give us anything that's easy to follow when it comes to online Disney sales, won't you please?
Please do that. So much information, Patrick, but such a fantastic event, a wonderful way to celebrate the holidays with your family.
I've got to get out there for the holidays. I still haven't really ever done that. I've never been to the Mickey's Very Merry ever, but I have seen some of the trees before, but not in its full glory and splendor yet.
I, for one, Patrick, would totally love to see you rocking out at the Disney Junior Jingle Jam.
That, however, feels like my personal hell. I feel like I wouldn't survive that, or somebody wouldn't survive that, you know?
All right, holiday threats coming from PK.
I'm talking about murder, everybody. I'm talking about murder. Get in the car, loser. We're going shopping. That's right. Disney recently announced new products, markets, and new ways to shop at this year's D23 Expo. Let's start, Adam, with how to shop, shall we? Taking inspiration from the park's playbook, attendees will have the chance to sign up for a boarding group in a virtual queue for the D23 Expo Marketplace, Mickey's of Glendale main store, or Mickey's of Glendale Pin store via the Disneyland Resort app and by scanning a QR code at the store's entrance. To shop select limited edition collection items, guests will be able to reserve a store pass online prior to the start of the expo. Details on the store pass will be announced to guests later this summer. And once you are officially in the shops, you will have the option to pay for items at the Expo Marketplace, at the Expo Shop, and Mickey's of Glendale using the mobile checkout in the Disneyland Resort app. Now, let's chat more about where to shop. As I mentioned already, there is the D23 Expo Marketplace making its debut this year on the show floor. It will be a 27,000 square foot location offering fan fave merch from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, National Geographic, and much, much more. This location will include limited edition merch and the first release of the Disney 100 collection. Next up is Mickey's of Glendale, the Walt Disney Imagineering store, which will have 3 unique spaces at this year's expo. There's the main store, featuring merch designed by Imagineers, including hats, t-shirts, and accessories. This store will also feature collections celebrating the upcoming Disney Imagineering 70th anniversary. There's also the Mickey's of Glendale Pin store, which, of course, will sell cakes and pies. JK, obviously, this will be the official pin shop at the expo. And there's the Mickey's of Glendale Expo shop, bringing you official 2022 D23 Expo-specific merch. Also available this year will be Disney Publishing. This shop will be the Disney bookstore, featuring all your favorite Disney stories and published series, including first-to-market books. Throughout the expo, the shop will host a number of Disney authors who will be available to sign your favorite books. Now, let's get down to real business. What are some of the hot items this year? What will I be slapping people for, you may ask? As I said earlier, the expo will have the first opportunity for guests to purchase Disney 100 items. The expo will also feature the new World of Wakanda merch. Also, a new collection by Ashley X. Dean, inspired by Ahsoka Tano, will be available. The collection is called Guided by the Light. And a new line of plush will be available at the expo, inspired by the Disney Parks Main Street Bakery. That's right. Disney Munchlings will be the new hot plush for purchase. Don't think they thought through that name. I don't feel like it's appropriate. But included in the Munchlings collectible assortment will be a scented Mickey Mouse cinnamon swirl bun and a Minnie Mouse wild strawberry cupcake. What is happening right now, Adam? What's going on? I don't understand. Again, all of this and much more will be available at this year's D23 Expo, and stay tuned in future episodes for more updates as we get closer to the date.
Okay, so Munchlings, I'm assuming, Patrick, have rocketed to the top of your wish list.
I don't know. I'll probably fall for it. I don't know. But I don't know. I can't get behind plush shaped like food. I don't understand. Just buy the food. Buy it and eat it. You know, Adam, we're about to give a review on the new Pixar movie Lightyear, and one thing that has been on my mind a lot lately is how attracted I am to that animated character.
Mm-hmm. It's been on your mind a lot, huh? Like just nonstop.
I just can't stop thinking about Lightyear, you know?
I will say, I did notice a lot of really good-looking butt shots. I mean, in pants, but they clearly took... Yes. They clearly took creative direction from Chris Evans' actual booty for those shots because it looked great.
Yeah. I celebrated most of the things he was wearing and was rooting for a topless pajama set. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't feel like he wears a pajama shirt to bed, and we don't need it.
That's a good point. It did seem like maybe he would sleep shirtless or in some boxer briefs or maybe just in the nude. I feel like everyone in the future is just much more open with their bodies, and that needed to be celebrated more in this movie.
That's right. Pop that top off, won't you? Now, we are giving some spoilers right now in that he does wear a full pajama set in this film, but but we do want to acknowledge the movie has been out for 2 or 3 weeks now as of this recording. So we're going to give sort of a spoiler-free-ish review. We're not going to reveal the main plot point secrets, I guess, but we are going to be a little bit more casual with our talk about Lightyear.
Oh, we're going to be so loose. I like this. 2 loose ladies talking about Lightyear.
That's right. Pour me some more kombucha.
Kombucha? I'm having Chardonnay, Patrick.
It's early. It's early still for me. It needs to be at least 11:30.
Oh, it's so late. You're starting so late. Yes. So Lightyear, kind of an origin story for the toy Buzz Lightyear story that we're familiar with in the Toy Story movies. This is the movie that Andy saw that turned him on to the character Buzz Lightyear and made him want the action figure.
Yes, absolutely. We were speculating before when this movie first was announced that I can just speak for myself. I always thought it was going to be a movie about like an actual person who existed in the Toy Story world that they base this character off of. But no, in fact, this is actually just a fictional movie within the movie Toy Story that this character is based off of, that inspired this action figure that Andy then went on to purchase or get for his birthday, I should say.
That's right. I'm very excited to see the documentary about the actor who portrays Buzz Lightyear, who will be voiced by an entirely different actor other than Tim Allen, other than Chris Evans. I really can't wait to see how meta they can get with this.
It's really down the rabbit hole, this one, but it was great. It was an interesting exploration, I guess, of this entire world that Pixar has created.
A world within a world, Patrick.
Really, really, and truly. So I guess before we get too deeply into it, let's, as per usual, what are your initial thoughts to get us into this conversation about the movie Lightyear?
Listen, I love a good space adventure. I love a good sci-fi film. I'd say overall, I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
We can get into more details later, but I don't know if this necessarily needed to be tied to Toy Story. I thought maybe this could just be its own like thing. Like maybe they could have just come up with something completely new, same kind of story that we see in the film now, but I don't know if it needed to be Buzz Lightyear. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm on the side of, I also enjoyed this movie. I kind of liked this exploration, this dive into the Toy Story world, and then sort of stripping it down a little bit or turning it into a new world. It's hard to really, it's so meta, and it confused. My brain hurts a little bit when I think about what the story actually is. But it makes sense in that Buzz Lightyear has such a fandom behind him. And so this was an interesting exploration, right? It feels like somebody just got an idea in their head and went, yeah, that could be a movie. Let's see if we can turn this into something. Do I think it needed a theatrical release? However, I don't. This absolutely, to me, could have been straight to Disney Plus, and it was confusing why they chose to let this be the first Pixar release since the pandemic in movie theaters.
Yeah, my assumption is that because it is tied to Toy Story, they thought that maybe it would do big business.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was something in Chris Evans' contract where it was like, this has to be a major motion picture, kind of like a Scarlett Johansson Black Widow situation.
Sure.
But that also did kind of sit funnily with me. That didn't make any sense, but it doesn't matter, Patrick. It was weird to me that I was sitting in a movie theater watching this when it seemed perfectly primed for Disney Plus.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said before, this is the first Pixar release in theaters since the movie Onward. So that's been quite some time. We've had some amazing Pixar movies come out since then, Luca, Soul being one of them. I almost felt slighted by that a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I was like, just re-release Soul first or something and let that have its moment in the theaters before a movie like this, because this felt like it's a good movie. I really like it, and I recommend seeing it, but it didn't feel like a blockbuster release or that this needed to be the first one back in theaters.
Yeah, I know this is a conversation that a lot of Disney fans are having right now, but it's something that Disney kind of set us up for, right? So I don't want to say it's their fault, but it's their fault in that we kind of have these expectations now of what kind of material will be presented on Disney Plus. And when something veers from that, not that this necessarily was like just perfect for Disney Plus, but there's a mentality now of like certain things are meant for Disney Plus and certain things are meant for theatrical release. And this, for whatever reason, despite it being a big space epic, didn't seem that it needed to be in theaters. It just felt like it could have been on Disney Plus.
Yeah, absolutely. Even visually, like it was a cool visual movie, but it didn't need a giant screen for me. It didn't like require all of the bells and whistles that come with a theatrical release. So I hear what you're saying there.
So who's responsible for this movie? Who is the creative team behind this movie? Let's talk about it, shall we? Let's start with the director, one Angus McLean, a name that I am completely jealous of. Angus McLean.
Such a good name. Such a great name. He also has a writing credit for this movie as well. Kind of a newish or not as experienced director, I would say. He did co-direct Finding Dory for Disney.
He did indeed. And he's kind of been the go-to guy for Buzz Lightyear animation for a number of years. I mean, honestly, almost since the very beginning. He was the guy that directors would go to when they needed to talk about what Buzz's character would do. And the reason I know that, and we're going to kind of maybe interweave this into our conversation today, Patrick, is there's a great documentary on Disney Plus called Beyond Infinity, Buzz and the Journey to Lightyear, where you kind of get a look at the creative team behind the film and how the movie was developed.
Yes, absolutely. And as you said, Angus was that sort of inspirational animator, I guess, for Buzz Lightyear. He knew all of the expressions that Buzz would give, or some of the movements that he would give or not give. So he was kind of the go-to guy. Also, just a prolific animator for Pixar in general.
Yes, worked on so many projects for Pixar. And it's a recurring theme we see with Pixar and Disney, right? They take these people that have been animating movies or writing movies for so many years, and they like to promote within, right? They like to raise these people up, these people that have a real knowledge of the complete canon, and move them into director positions because they trust them.
Yes, absolutely. Very very that. And as we said before, Angus was also a writer on this film, along with co-writer Jason Headley, who again is another, I would say he's experienced, but not overly experienced in the writing department. He did have an original story by credit and screenplay by credit for Onward.
Yeah. And going back to the doc on Disney Plus, I'm just going to call it Beyond Infinity because the title's far too long.
Yes,
Patrick.
please do so.
Jason Headley really kind of revealed the fact that he was very nervous working on this project because, as Patrick already mentioned, there's this real fandom behind Buzz, and he was worried about ruining people's perception of that character by kind of introducing this new iteration of the character. Yeah,
which makes sense. It's kind of a tricky topic. I mean, Disney fans can be, overly zealous sometimes about things that they love and hold dear to their hearts. And, understandably, we all have that about some things in our lives. And Buzz Lightyear and Woody, those two characters happen to be very beloved characters. And so having a misstep would have been pretty upsetting, I imagine, for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. This is a character that people have grown up with. I mean, we've seen the toy version over and over and over again. So there's all these assumptions that are made walking into this movie about what this character is going to be like. And there is some deviation from the Tim Allen performance, I think, in a very smart way that they take, obviously, things that they needed to do to kind of flesh out the character. But, if people were kind of obsessed with Buzz and had this kind of expectation of what he would be, they're not going to get that in this film.
Yeah, it's almost as though Buzz Lightyear is now two different characters. You almost sort of have to separate one from the other. One inspired one, but in reality, the Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story inspired this Lightyear. But, they are two different characters. So if you're expecting Buzz Lightyear from Toy Story in this movie, you're not going to get that.
That's right. That's why there's two different meet and greets now. We've got a toy Buzz and a weird human face Buzz.
It's very confusing. I kind of don't feel like it's necessary to have that walk around character Buzz Lightyear.
No, he should just pop that costume off and come have a drink with me and we can get to know each other.
Or keep it on and come to my room and see what happens,
Well, now he has two proposals. We'll see which one he chooses.
Neither. It's going to be neither.
He's terrified. Clear. Yeah, he's terrified for sure. Well, Patrick, what did you think of the story overall? We kind of dipped into it a little bit already, but what did you think of the plot and kind of how everything played out?
I really liked it. I thought this was just a really lovely, interesting, engaging movie that wasn't overly complicated. We don't have a lot of characters to keep track of. We don't have too much of a plot that is going to get confusing. It was just a nice, relaxing movie, I felt like, if that makes sense. I didn't have to think too much, but it did engage me both emotionally and intellectually, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. The emotional aspect really played in on some very key moments.
Yeah.
For me, the first maybe third of the film was more successful than the last section of the film, I was really interested in Buzz's story arc in this film and how he kind of made a miscalculation and was trying to correct that. And I loved the concept they introduced of him trying to save his crew by running these tests that would essentially have him missing 4 years of his life at a time, returning to this planet. The crew would age consistently and he would still kind of remain the same age. Like, I loved that whole concept. And it really did kind of tug at your heartstrings when you realized he was missing out on his life, trying to save everyone else's lives, or at least give them the lives they thought they were going to have.
Yeah, the sacrifice he was sort of making on behalf of himself and on behalf of all of his relationships and everybody else who was on the planet with him. It was really interesting and very emotionally charged, I would say. It was also kind of a fun investigation into why Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Story world is so sort of determined, I guess, to be the authority and to make sure that he's making the right decisions at all times. Otherwise, he's a failure.
Right. And who doesn't identify with that?
Nobody really can, I would say.
Where the movie kind of lost me a little bit was when they kind of started to focus more on Zurg and the robots. And that's kind of how I feel like maybe we didn't need to tie this to Toy Story. I mean, I see both sides of it. I get why they did it because there is such an emotional connection to this character. And it is interesting to find out why the character is the way he is in the Toy Story movies. But the Zurg parts just kind of felt a little bit forced to me. Like, you know, they had to work in Zurg. They had to find a way to make Zurg work.
Yeah.
And so it was just a little bit messy in those moments. But I mean, forgivable. I forgive you, Disney and Pixar.
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of tightrope walk that they had to do because they have to both please audiences, right? Young and old who are in reality watching this movie. But they also had to give us a movie that would have excited a 6-year-old boy in the Toy Story world at the same time, right?
Yeah, which adds another unique layer to viewing this movie because you're viewing it as yourself and you're also thinking, or at least I was anyway, watching it, that this is what Andy was seeing and how would he react to these moments in the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I kept thinking about that and going, I wonder how much they tried to play with it or if they were just like, I don't really care about like what would the future have looked like back in, what it was, 1996, whatever year it was, whatever, that he would have watched this movie and what space looks like and what the future looks like. And I want to be in the room for that storyboarding conversation of how they figure all this stuff out.
There was a moment, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but there was that moment when Buzz takes out the autopilot system and blows into the cartridge and puts it back into the navigation board. And I was like, oh, that's very mid-90s, you know, like playing video games and like having to blow the dust out of it and put it back in. I think there might have been like little winks like that throughout the movie.
Yeah, things that would have been relatable at that time when this movie actually would have come out.
Right. Well, we have a very talented cast voicing some very dynamic characters in this movie. Patrick, who did you love in Lightyear?
I mean, I loved every single person in this movie, I have to say. And it wasn't a large cast. And so I thought it was really well cast, though. This voice cast was great. I have to say, I have to give a shout out to Keke Palmer, who I'm obsessed with. I love Keke Palmer. She's kind of everywhere right now. She plays Izzy Hawthorne in the movie, the granddaughter of Buzz Lightyear's friend, who was part of the first third of the movie, Alicia Hawthorne. It's all very confusing. You know what I'm talking about when you watch the movie. But I thought she did such a great vocal performance. She already has a wonderful voice that I could listen to all the time. But she has a unique comedic style to her cadence, I think, that I really love and appreciate.
Keke Palmer is a national treasure, Patrick, and her performance is to be celebrated. It's just very authentic, very endearing. And the character Izzy Hawthorne is such a great juxtaposition to Buzz. Buzz, you know, is very stoic a lot of the time. He's very kind of straightforward, and Izzy is much more team-oriented and much more lovable overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's part of sort of this ragtag group of misfits, you might say, that are heroes in their own right, basically, or become heroes, but they want to defend the planet, but it is later revealed that they're not as great as Buzz maybe thought that they were. She's joined by a character named Mo Morrison, voiced by Taika Waititi, and Darby Steele, voiced by Dale Soules.
Again, wonderful voice actors. They both bring such like a lovely texture to the vocal performance, and you immediately know who they are. I mean, you've already mentioned how small the cast was. It is an incredibly small cast for a Pixar film, or for any film, really, but it just enhanced that much more the audience's relationship with each character because you know who these people are.
Yeah, I was so thankful for that they could have given us a million characters that we couldn't really keep track of, but instead they kept it nice and intimate, which really helped move this film along. And I really liked this group of characters together. They all worked so well together. They were fun to watch together. They were emotionally charged together. And it was a fun juxtaposition, or I guess relation, to what happens in the movie Toy Story, right? Where it's just sort of this ragtag group of misfits who are working together to figure it out. And it worked so well.
Right. You already mentioned Izzy's grandmother, Alicia Hawthorne, who was voiced by Uzo Aduba. And again, another great vocal performance, just really very heartfelt, and her character's connection to Buzz was so sincere and sweet, and their friendship was so endearing. That relationship really does launch the kind of plot of the film and propel it to where we go in the final 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And it felt authentic and not forced. Like, I didn't feel like they were giving us like, it's Pixar, so we're going to make you cry. It felt very natural.
Right.
And again, it was an incredibly emotional scene in the film where you see their relationship sort of develop and drift apart at the same time. And it's very beautiful. And Pixar gave us a really lovely, not only gay relationship, but an interracial relationship as well. And I thought that was very well handled.
Yeah, I wanted to see more of the two women's relationship because we were just kind of giving glimpses of it as Buzz would return from his various missions and like 4 years would have passed and you'd see the progression of, Alicia Hawthorne being pregnant and then their kid graduating from college. And I just wanted more of that couple and their dynamic to be present in the film. But I realized it wasn't the focus of the film. But, I'm gay and I want to see that gay relationship, Patrick.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand that. But I thought it was handled well. Like, I didn't, while yes, I would have been interested in knowing what that dynamic was like on the planet while Buzz was away. But I also, like, it was a really good plot driver in that we just get these sort of glimpses, kind of the way the movie Up starts. You just sort of see flashes, moments in their life that you can paint the rest of the picture on your own.
Very Up. I thought the same thing watching that kind of montage of Buzz's mission tries and the progression of Alicia's life throughout the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. It works. So keep doing it because it'll make me cry every single time.
Emotional manipulation.
Yes, indeed. We also got a really fun character, I thought. One that I didn't really know too much about before going into the movie, but I'm obsessed with now, is Socks, the cat, voiced by Peter Son.
Big belly laugh moments from both me, and I saw the movie with my brother, who tends to be a little bit more reserved when it comes to animated films, but he was laughing right alongside me. Socks, the cat, was bringing the comic relief and delivering on all fronts, Patrick.
So funny, just absolutely so funny, so adorable, a great plot driver as well. Really a successful character, I thought.
Pixar has a wonderful way of understanding animals, and even if the animal isn't real, even if it's a robotic cat, they still nail those kind of mannerisms that animals have, like a cat coughing up a hairball. I thought the bits where Socks would cough up various gadgets that Buzz or Izzy might need, I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sort of the joke of him needing sort of an animal support system in his life, it was pretty funny as well.
And the fact that the actor voicing Socks, Peter Son, would kind of make all the sound effects himself as opposed to sound effects being piped in for Socks. Like he would do his own beep, beep, or meow, things like that.
Yeah, that could have gone a different direction if it was handled differently, but he did a great job of doing it. It never got annoying for me. Same.
Very enjoyable. Love Socks. Interested to see how Socks appears in merchandise, Patrick.
I need some socks,
If they don't do socks, they're missing out.
That would socks.
Oh.
Heyo. I also have to give a shout out to another character, I guess, quote unquote character, and that is the sort of navigational system, Ivan, voiced by Mary McDonnell Lewis, who, fun fact, is also the actual real life voice for the OnStar navigation system.
Even if you don't know that, you know that when you hear her voice watching the movie.
Yeah, it's so recognizable, and I spent half the movie going, why do I know her voice? It's upsetting me right now, but it's such a perfect voice for this. And of course, she's the real-life OnStar navigation system voice.
Very clever, Pixar. I see what you're doing there.
Very clever indeed. And also just a funny character. I love when Pixar, or Disney in general, is able to make non-human and non-animal things like a robot like this, or give them a personality. It always, it's so delicious to me.
Yeah, it's another great layer of not only reminding us that we're in the future, but also giving us something we're familiar with in this timeline I guess, our own timeline, the real world, now that we deal with all of these kind of devices that help us live our lives and we can just speak to and they deliver.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of delivering, we also have one more voice to talk about, at least one more, but that would be James Brolin voicing the character of Zurg. We're not going to give away too much of the plot point there because that's kind of the main sort of twist in the movie. And we don't want to ruin that for anybody. But he does play Zurg, who also, of course, is inspired in the movie Toy Story.
Did we ever hear Zurg in the Toy Story movies? Like, did we ever hear him talk?
I believe in Toy Story 2, I think we did, because he and Buzz actually have a battle, I think, in Toy Story 2.
I'm just trying to remember if James Brolin was the voice of Zurg in those, or if it was just like a different voice actor and they brought him in for this role because it was more prominently featured in this movie.
I usually answer that with I don't have time to look it up because I'm too busy for you, but I do actually want to know the answer to that. So I'm looking it up right now. Let's skip ahead to when I say Andrew Stanton plays Emperor Zurg in Toy Story 2.
It's so amazing that you knew that off the top of your head.
I just knew it. It's something, a little trivia I keep in my pocket.
Again, we won't reveal the plot twist that happens here, but I was kind of confused by the plot twist, Patrick. I don't know if it really played out to its full impact, or maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention, but I didn't really get how it happened.
Yeah, that's the thing with time travel as a device. I feel like in movies, you can kind of make up your own rules, if that makes sense.
I guess I really can't say anymore. We'll have to talk about this offline because we don't want to ruin the moment, but maybe I'm just a dummy. But my brother also said he didn't really fully understand how that big reveal could have happened, but I'm also not a physicist, Patrick. I'm not an astrophysicist.
Yeah, it's in my own basic explanation, it's just kind of just like time travel can also create rifts in reality, apparently. And so that's how I at least did the, mental gymnastics in my head and explaining it to myself. I don't know if that's exactly what they were going for, but maybe that's a plot hole. I don't know. Who can say? Someone smarter than us, please explain it to us.
Well, if it is a plot hole, shame on Disney and shame on Pixar, because every moment of this movie needed to be rooted in reality, and it clearly wasn't, and I was thrown. Patrick.
Fair enough.
Well, that kind of rounds out the major characters in the story, the fabulous voice actors behind these characters. And with that, Patrick, let's give our final thoughts. Let's wrap this up. Lightyear, yes, no. Where are we going with this?
I mean, yes, I liked this movie. I didn't really find any faults with the movie other than I just didn't need it to be in a movie theater. I was grateful to go to a movie theater. I love going to the movies. And this has nothing to do with the movie itself. I just felt like this wasn't, for me, the first Pixar film back in a movie theater since the pandemic. It just didn't have that weight behind it. It had a Disney Plus watch at home kind of a feel to it. So I'm interested to know how they sort of navigated to this one being the first release. And it doesn't feel like a summer blockbuster either, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I agree with you, Patrick. And I'm curious if a lot of our tweeters feel the same way, or maybe some of you feel that this absolutely only could be seen in the theater and that's absolutely how people should see it.
Sure.
I think I veer a little bit off from where you do, Patrick, regarding the story. Again, I'm just not completely sold on the Toy Story connection. I get it, and I like the concept for it. Like, I'm fully behind the concept for it. I just think the final result overall, when I look at the whole package, I'm like, I think I would have enjoyed this more if they kind of removed that element, because I was constantly comparing Buzz to the toy Buzz and looking for like Easter eggs, and maybe that was part of the journey and I should have embraced it more. But I think this had legs enough on its own to stand as its own kind of individual movie, and it didn't need to be Buzz Lightyear. It could have been, generic spaceman so-and-so. And then my last kind of note for the writers, because I am very qualified to give these very talented writers notes, where there were just too many instances of like ships crash landing and they had to figure things out. Like, I think I counted 3 or 4 instances where it was like, oh no, we're crashing. And then they kind of have this conversation of how to get out of it. And then they like get back up into a ship and then another ship crashes. And so for me, there were just like maybe 1 too many instances of that, or I would have appreciated more variation in the kind of sticky situations they found themselves in.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I can see that absolutely. I kind of didn't mind that in that it's a trope that is used so often in these space kind of movies of that you have to maroon the character somewhere because that's kind of the easiest plot for for a space movie to happen. And I feel like they used it correctly and almost a little bit tongue-in-cheeky, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they were sort of referencing all of these, Lost in Space and Star Wars a little bit and just all these space adventures. So I totally hear what you're saying, and it's an easy thing to do. It wasn't the smartest idea in the world, but I didn't mind it. I didn't care enough about that because I feel like I didn't take the movie too seriously. I knew it was going to be just sort of a popcorn kind of a movie that I didn't need to emotionally invest myself into.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just realized we didn't even talk about Chris Evans.
That rounds out the cast. We just didn't talk about the main character, Buzz Lightyear. I mean, we kind of did. We talked about his butt a little bit,
Right. That was really the main point, was his butt. And, as is kind of often, maybe not so often, but this tends to happen, and it's not necessarily the most desired result, but there were far more interesting characters surrounding Buzz than Buzz was an interesting character. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense. And that's not sort of taking away from the character at all. He sort of plays the straight man in his own movie, as it were.
Right. So there, we've covered Chris Evans. Thank goodness.
I'll cover Chris Evans anytime he needs it.
I knew you were going to say that. But for me, the real heart of the film is that relationship between Alicia Hawthorne and Buzz Lightyear. I was just so moved by the love between those two characters.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like the more successful moments in this movie were the relationship building that you get from it.
Which is how it should be, right? Like, you want to have the action and adventure, but ultimately when it comes down to it, if we're going to identify with these characters, it's got to be about those relationships.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the Pixar alchemy, right? It's about relationships and it's about these buddy systems that happen in the movies, and that's sort of what Pixar is known for, the putting two people together in interesting circumstances, I guess.
That's it. That's Pixar's formula in a nutshell.
Speaking of buddy systems, we are thrown together in the most absurd circumstance, and that's a podcast, Adam.
Nothing is more absurd than recording a podcast. All right, Tweedles, we want to hear from you. We need to hear from you. Did you see Lightyear? Are you planning to see Lightyear if you haven't seen Lightyear? And if you have seen Lightyear, we need to hear all of your thoughts. You can reach out to us on social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast.
Or leave us an email or a voice memo at info@gazedothed.com. Do you think Pixar is exploring optioning our story about doing Gaze to the D as a podcast?
Would they take on a story that dark and disturbing?
That's a really good point. It probably won't go to the theaters or even to Disney Plus. I don't know. It might be on Disney Minus. Is that a thing?
Quibi.
They're going to resurrect Quibi.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Adam.
We've reached the end of this episode. That means it is time for Quick D. And we have decided, Tweedles, that this week we will be doing Quick D Classic, which means you know it. You love it. We're going to be asking each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording, and we're going to answer it off the cuff.
I mean, when you're right, Adam, and you are right.
Thank you so much, Patrick. I have a question headed your way right now. In the news segment, Patrick, we talked about Disney as part of D23 Expo releasing a brand new merch option called Munchlings.
Sure did. We sure did.
That's plush that looks like food from the Main Street Confectionery.
Both the Main Street bakeries in Disney World and Disneyland.
Got that, everybody? It's happening. We can't avoid it. But Patrick, certainly there were other options, things that they were workshopping.
Yeah.
Aside from calling them Munchlings. Munchlings were the obvious choice, right? I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
But there were other names they were proposing before they landed on Munchlings.
Yeah.
What were a couple of those other names?
A couple of other names for these food-based plush were Eatums. They were called Eatums.
Eatums. Okay.
Which was confusing because some people were trying to eat the plush, and that was a problem. That was problematic.
The Disney lawyers were like, let's not do that.
Very that they didn't want to have another lawsuit on their hands. A couple of other options for these plush were mouthfuls. Mouthfuls. That didn't test as well as they thought it was going to test.
Both Eatums and Mouthfuls, though, they don't seem that far off base from Munchlings. So I feel like we're definitely in the same ballpark here.
We're in the same ballpark. The tagline, though, for Mouthfuls were, get your hands on a mouthful.
Maybe, Patrick, maybe they save Mouthfuls for next year's Pride collection.
That's a little too on the nose or too on the tongue, Adam. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Disgusting. Disgusting.
And that's what you get with a quick D from Patrick. Just disgusting. Horrific. Oh, good times. Good times. Speaking of horrific, Adam, I have a question for you.
Love to see where this is going.
Absolutely. As you know, Adam, CEO Bob Chapek was recently revoted, or his reign on the board was extended by the board itself. Adam, I need to know, what is he going to put his foot in next? What's up next for Bob Chapek?
Great question. It's bound to happen.
It is. We're soothsayers here on Gays Do the D. We know exactly what's about to happen with old Bobby.
I think his next or his next oopsie is going to be announcing at D23 Expo the development of a brand new attraction coming to the domestic Disney parks. It's called SCOTUS, the Experience.
Oh, no.
It's actually a Tower of Terror overlay.
Nothing more frightening.
You know how those Disney Imagineers love to immerse you in a story when you're on an attraction? Well, they're just going to take the Tower of Terror, they're going to overlay it with SCOTUS the Experience, and when you're inside the elevator, you are at that very moment representative of your rights as a citizen, and you're just dropping. You're just dropping, Patrick.
Just rights flying out the window. Just...
Everyone's getting sick. They're disoriented.
And just when you think they can't take away any more rights, they hit you with that last launch again and just throw everything out the window.
And then you get off the ride and you can buy some SCOTUS merch.
Plushies, even. Some Scoties, I think they're called. That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast. Submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See ya real soon.